So I wanted to reach out to you and kind of pick your brain a little bit on writing a containment thriller or any kind of genre.
As an independent filmmaker, I've always had one major problem, and that major problem is
So you're a filmmaker, so you know more about budget than most writers do. So would you suggest that writers really start researching how much stuff costs behind the scenes so they can write that script that they can try and pitch to somebody like yourself?
absolutely. First off, we're an economy that is going to be looking at numbers very, very closely over the next probably decade, if not longer.
Right.
We are good at working on a smaller budget. The trick right now, I think, for writers is to understand, number one, I mean, we can throw numbers at things. Oh, I think this will be $1 million movie. But until you sit down and you actually break down your script, which is a lot of fun, and it's quite interesting, actually, you start to understand how expensive your imagination is, right? And it's one of those things that it's, even when I write a script, I never get it on the first pass. And I have a beautiful script, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I've got this beautiful script. But the second I start breaking it down, now it goes from the twins down to one person. Then it goes from, you know what I mean? And then instead of a Ferrari, it's now it's a Pinto. So all of these things are happening. They're reducing. We're constantly shaping and molding it to get it to a point. For me, it's always about, some filmmakers are different. Some filmmakers are like, no, this is what we're going to do, and I'm going to go find money to raise this money.
Right.
But for me, it's not. The core of the story is the spirit of the story, the theme. That's what's more important, not the baggage.
Yeah.
So how you get to that moment or that emotion is important to me more than the baggage. And most of the stuff in screenplays are baggage. I mean, they're tools that are used to get you through the story.
Yeah.
But if you really sit down and look at it, does that scene really need to take place at the White House? Could that scene take place in the alleyway down the street from the White House? You know what I mean? So like, what can you do to break down your economy of scale? What better way to do that is to sit down, look at how many, you can only film, most professional filmmakers, and I'm going to get flack from this, they can only shoot reasonably quality of stuff between like maybe 5, maybe 6 pages at the absolute most.
A day
per day.
Yeah.
So you think of it, if you got a 120-page script, you think about how many days are going to go into production.
Yeah.
Some pages may require 2 days. If it's action, it's 2 pages of action. But that could be a 2 or 3
car
day
chase and whatnot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So think about that when you're writing. And once you start understanding how many days it's going to take, or theoretically, to shoot a movie like this, you start to think about, wow, well, if I've got a camera person and a grip and a PA and a director and all this stuff, that's right there. And you can research these rates and start putting together a fake budget, and you'll quickly see why movies cost so much money.
I think that's great. I mean, it's brilliant. And by even researching and figuring out budget, like, you actually start working your way into a pitch deck, which is something that writers should be doing nowadays anyway. But just when I was talking to you a while ago, we were chatting, and I was telling you about this contained horror film that I wrote, that I was like, okay, I'm going to put it in the woods. It's cheap. And then you were firing questions off at me I wasn't even considering. You're like, okay, so it's a location out of the woods, so you're going to need to figure out a way, to have the actors go to the restroom. So you're going to need to bring in porta potties. They're going to have, food delivered, and like, that's an expense. Like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. Like, that's all added expense. And I'm just thinking, oh, it's in the woods. They just go and shoot it. And so, I mean, it was like just sitting and just chatting with you for like 15 minutes. Like, I got my own personal masterclass. So, it's just eye-opening. You just don't realize where budget can go, and in a situation like this. So I've seen some filmmakers will rent out a house, and they're shooting in that house, and they're renting out that house, and the house is a location because it has bathrooms and a kitchen and a refrigerator. And you start going, oh, okay, all right, that all makes sense.